Okay, so this is the first Maimer at the first Verbrengen, Yudalef ניסן, 1962. Shnas HaShishim, 60th year. Vidaber, this week's parasha, Vidaber, Moishe. David spoke to Moishe, Acharei, Moishe, b'nei Acharei, and after the death of the two children of Aaron, two sons of Aaron, so the pasuk says, very cryptic, they drew near to Hashem and he died. Yidu adik, v'du shechsidus, so it's known the shailin chsidus, b'keif al-loshen sh'b'pasuk zeh, the double expression. It says already at the outset, Acharei Moishe, after they died. Why does it add again, v'yamusu, and they died? The pasuk should have ended with the words "B'kavos lefnei Hashem." The Kiddush Acharei Moishe, he spells out the question. Since already the pasuk begins with after their death, why repeat? Why then go ahead and repeat again? V'yamusu, and they died. Gam tzarich lavin b'nigei lesibas misos. We have to understand also with respect to the cause of their death. There are several opinions, many opinions. And of course, all of them, you have a Maimah here. It's prepared for you. And of course, all of them are, in the words of the Gemara, these and those, the words of Elikim Chayim, Gemara and Erevin. So one opinion is, they entered into the Kiddush HaKadoshim. Another view is, what was their chet? They entered after having consumed more than a revius of wine. The third opinion, they entered without the full garments of the Kohen Gadol. All the Mefarshim asked the question, but they weren't Kohanim Gedolim. Anyway, there are many answers to that. One is that they were all Kohanim Gedolim during that week. A fourth opinion, they didn't have children. And the fifth opinion, they didn't marry. So none of these things are explicit in the pasuk. It's hinted in this double lotion that we're asking now. The Medrash says Acharei Moishe, and then the pasuk says then Vayamusu. So the Medrash points out that all of these chatoim that we just enumerated here are all connected with Vayamusu in one way, directly or indirectly, with the death penalty, or at least contribute to the death penalty. That says that the Mefarshim of the Medrash struggle to understand that all the chatoim, like not being married, not having children, how is that a chet that's chayiv mitzvah? But anyway, whatever the explanations are, direct or indirect. But it's all hinted to in the Vayamus. So mizeh mashma, so the inference from the Medrash is this that they drew near, which led to the Vayamusu, yeshtam kama pratim. Bottom line is, we see in the Medrash there are many details to it, and they're all harmonious, they're all true. And nonetheless, despite all of these transgressions, it's really one chet. So we have to understand the reason how these various disparate chatoim are really one. And moreover, the mitzvah shnei b'nei Aaron. On the one hand, so their whole death, what was the ended? What did Moshe Rabbeinu say about it? So Moshe said to Aaron afterwards, it's now I understand, it's about then that Hashem said, I will be sanctified within those that are near me, and I will be glorified before all of the people. So Moshe said to Aaron, I knew that the house would be sanctified with those intimate with, as it were, those who know him, and he knows them, of the omnipresent, means the confidence, as it were. Those that are intimately acquainted. I thought it was me or you that this would happen, through which the Mishkan, the bias, would be sanctified. I see, Rashi brings all this, that they are greater than me and you. So, it's a contradiction here. So on them it says, those that are near me, it's those that are near me that cause that Kodesh, that I should be sanctified. How can we say that it was a transgression, which is what the Medrash is pointing out, all the Chatoyim? So to understand all of the above, so the first thing is that obviously this is a virtuous thing, that they drew near to the Eibishter. This has to be, he says, klolos avedis adam. That's the whole point of the avodah of a person, is to draw close to God. What is that? There has to be the desire to transcend, to ascend above, like it says about Malchus. And why we're talking about Malchus? Knesset Yisrael. Malchus is called the Knesset, that with the gathering, literally, of Eden. Moker Neshamas Yisrael. Malchus is the feminine. Moker is the source of Neshamas Yisrael. Says in Zohar, the lower flame, which refers to Malchus, Kor di Todir, is calling out continuously. The Nahira Ilah to the supernal flame, to the Eibishter, and it is not appeased, as in a Melech, Hamas Melech Shachach. It's not appeased. It is not satiated. That Malchus, meaning Neshamas Yisrael, is in a constant tnuah movement of longing and thirst to the supernal flame, to the Eibishter, in the way that it's not appeased. So Inyan, why is it not appeased? You're there. Because Inyan harotz ilalis the ma'ila be'iloi achar iloi. Its desire is to ascend ever higher, so it's never satiated, never appeased with one level of connection, but ever higher, is because Hashem is bligvul. Shalachim b'chol dargim lakim shemagasham, every level that she reaches there, the neshama malchus, harizeb adayin b'ifin l'shachich, it still does not calm, does not appease, not at rest. Next page, page 8. So it has to be the avodas adam b'ifin sharotz yalalis l'mayla. So the avodah has to be that. That's the drive a Jew, that he wants to connect. As the pasuk says, in contrasting the ruach of the behema, which is drawn downwards, the ruach of Adam, which is the neshama, is to ascend upwards. However, since the siphon never shall kiss, never shashenis b'Yisrael, which the Alter Rebbe describes as the second nefesh. There is also implying the diakir is the nefesh hashenis b'Yisrael. It occurs to me as I was saying the Maimon now, and it seems that Rebbe is hinting to this. Why doesn't the Alter Rebbe say there's another neshama? First of all, why describe Nefesh Abahamis first? So the simple answer is because that's what we first experience. Nefesh Elikis only enters and integrates fully at Bar Mitzvah, Bas Mitzvah. Nefesh Abahamis comes from Toyu and so on. But why not say, and then there's another Neshama? Why describe it as Nefesh Hashenis? So the implication, the hint is because integral to the mission of the neshama is the nefesh habahamis. It's not something independent in the sense that you have another neshama which is in its own trip. This neshama, the tachlis hakavana, is nefesh habahamis. Therefore, it's called second, implicit in its identity, in its label, at least its name, in its reference, is the nefesh habahamis. So that's what he's saying here. Because what does that have to bring nefesh hashinis? Because you just said it's also nefesh halikis, but he brings the lashon natanya. That's the explaining why it's called nefesh hashinis. So there's also gam nefesh habahamis. So he also, a yid also has nefesh habahamis, haguf, and his body, v'chelkei ba'olam, and the allotted part of the world that every neshama comes down to the world to elevate. So therefore, it has to be in such a way, as the pasuk says in Yeshaya, the Eibusher didn't create the world that it should be chaotic and empty and undeveloped, but rather l'sheves yitzara. Torah means unformed, but it should be l'sheves yitzara. It should be settled. That means after the rotz, it's got to be counted with the shuv. L'sheves yitzara. In order to fix the nefesh habahamis and the guf and the allotted part of the world that each one of us needs to elevate. On the contrary, this is the primary rotzen. It's not the rotzi per se, but the shuv. God's desire is layli, not rotzi, not the rotzi itself, at the least that we make this world a dwelling place for him. Now comes the diuk, because till now he said like, okay, there's the rotzoi, but then the rotzoi has to be followed with the shuv. Now comes the diuk that even the rotzoi itself, therefore, is a different kind of rotzoi. Again, the nefesh hashenis, its whole identity of the neshama is the shlichus. At least I did it, but let's see inside. This is the distinction between the rotzoi of toihu, right, to the rotzoi of tikkun. Toihu is the olam that precedes tikkun. It's higher than tikkun. Tikkun is olam hatzilus. Tikkun means fixed, literally, and toihu means unformed. Because in Toiho, the Koyach HaGvul, the Kalim, have yet to emerge in a way to contain the Oir. So the Oir overwhelms the Kali. It's the first chaotic encounter between Bli Gvul and Gvul. And that's not an easy encounter because they are contrasting, and so it's chaotic. Like the Moshel of Chassidus, when a person is first learning a novel idea, which is totally beyond his previous experience, the first encounter with ideas, confusion. And only then eventually gets a grasp on the idea. Why? Because it shatters literally his old, any perception he had till now, period. Anything radical initially before grasped is chaotic. So the first encounter of Bli Gvul with Gvul, the finite, which is the divine intent, seizes the infinite and contains it. So that encounter, of course, is a shattering one because the Gvul is limited and the opposite of Bli Gvul. So how only does it happen? It happens because that's the kavan of Atzmos. And moreover, in the end, what emerges is that Gvul is just as legitimately him as Bli Gvul. But that's not obvious. By divine design, the Eibusher wanted that what should overtly express him is Gilui, not Gehelim, is Bli Gvul, not Gvul. The whole Chiddush of Vayidaber will be that where he's concealed, that's as much him Havayahu Olikim as where he's revealed. It's all him. Ein Mulvada. But that is a huge Chiddush of Vayidaber. And Hashem created the whole Seder Ishtalshalos, where that is counterintuitive completely. Revelation, Bli Gvul, infinite, reveals him. And Gvul eclipses him. So therefore, that encounter is what? The Bli Gvul encounters the Gvul, like, what are you doing here? You're ruining everything. I'm revealing God and you are concealing. So that's not an easy alliance. So Toyo is before Tikkun. And there's Rotzo in Toyo and there's Rotzo in Tikkun. Why is there Rotzo? Rotzo simply means the acknowledgement that God's the truth. And hence the desire to connect it, to dissolve, to surrender. The difference being, so how is they both? First of all, notwithstanding the fact that Tikkun is already in Kalim, so it's a happy world, there's no conflict there. Everything is resolved. Nonetheless, there has to be the Rotzoi, even in the desire to go beyond the Shtal Shalos, the recognition that this is God revealing himself in a limited way, and there's concealment, and there's a Keli, and therefore there's the need to connect to the undisguised revelation of Hashem or the Eibush himself. So that's to be the Rotzoi in Tikkun. Then Gam v'Toyo yesh ginyan haKelim. Why is there a Rotzoi in Toyo? Toyo is there because in Toyo there's also Kelim. So in Toyo there's also the Shuv. There is an aspect of Shuv, therefore. In Toyo, because there's Kelim, there's Akbala, there's containment. So what's the difference? Both in Atzilus there's Rotzoi, in Toyo there's Shuv. In simple geographic language, in Atzilus the Oir, it's Meyuched, that's the Rotzoi. And in Toyo, there's Kalim, so there's Shuv. What's the difference? Achili b'nei, and the difference is Shebarotze the Toyo nirgish tachlis Shuv. In the Rotze of Toyo, on the contrary, it's escape. It's a rebellion against Keli. Toyo, the shattering of the Keli is the bittul, not you. You're concealing him. So they're not felt in Toyo that the Tachlis is the Shuv. So that's the puller of the Rotze of Tikkun. It's a different kind of Rotze Leilam HaTikkun, Leilam HaTzilos, where the Kavon Elyon begins to manifest, which is Dira B'Tachtoinim, Oirin Keli, Shegam Ba'Rotzo Yeshin Yenashuv, that already in Atzilos begins this sense that desire connect to him. Well, he wants a Dira B'Tachtoinim. And where he's concealed, that is him equally as where he's revealed, and be even deeper. From our perspective, it's even deeper. The Kechagvul is even deeper. Why? Because the Kavan is Dira B'Tachtoinim. So it is deeper. So Chilak Zeh being Rotzi v'Shuv. So this difference between Rotzi and Shuv, Yeshtem B'Chol Olam V'Olam, exists on every plane. Vadla Darge Shalamayla V'Olam, even beyond the Olam altogether. The most subtle level of Etzem and the levels Lifnat Tzimtzum. There's all these levels of Rotzi and Shuv. Again, it's a binary system that the Eibishter fundamentally chose to manifest himself with expression and containment. And that begins at the very outset, in the most sublime levels. Again, Etzem B'Oir, Pashtus Oir, as we encountered a few Maimarim ago. And all the way down, Neshama invested in clothing the Guf. So here there has to be there has to be the Rotzoi, but already in the Rotzoi is the sense that there has to be the Shuv, which begs the question, why do you need the Rotzoi altogether? So just Shuv, Dira B'Tachtoinim, finished. So this we're going to explain, and this whole mind is to explain the union of Rotzoi and Shuv and Vayidaber Adam. So I'm just thinking that I need to look at this, but in the context of the whole Fabrengen, which is Nasa Shishim of the Rebbe, and Rabbi Yossi that made a Suda, because he no longer is Yitzhahara, it's all tied in. It's all tied in. I just, at the end of the Maimah, he brings the Pasuk, the Psukim of the Kapitel, Samachalef. Let's see. So go to that saying that first of all of Torah is one, but especially in a Fabrengen, it's not there's one sichen, there's this thing and that, and there's They're all, different divrei Torah. Here's a Maimer, and here is a beer on the Pirkei Avos, or here is an explanation of the Gemara. If it's one Farbrengen, it's a Bepnimius and Yonim, so the whole Farbrengen is one Nekuda. Sometimes more obvious, sometimes less, but so we'll look further into that. Bira Inyan Ois Gimel. Yeah, everybody, we're all on. We're all together. Huh, guys? Yeah. Feeling in the Issa Bezor says in Zoyar, Zakoik Shoit, the true righteous ones, Zakoik, the true meritorious ones, called Yoima Mistakli Benafshayu. Every day they look at themselves, Kilahu Yoima Mistalkim Alma, as if that day they will depart the world. True of every day. And it's explained to them which Maimer. This is a Maimer of the Rebbe Rashab of Tafresh Memtes Acharei Moishe, right to footnote 16, that was just published then in Tafresh Beis, 1962. Then subsequently published in Seif Maimorim, Tafresh Memtes. So this Maimer is based on that one. So explains that the Rebbe Rashab and the Maimer Shayin in the Kilo Mistalke Me Alma. This that the Zakoi, the righteous ones. This that every day they look at themselves as if this day they view themselves as if this day they departed the world. He says not that they're ready to give their lives up. No, they don't mean that. Which means, what would that mean? That is a state of consciousness with all the faculties of the person are all in their place. In other words, he's the neshama, the nefesh is engaged in the body. Ella, what does it mean? That means that a person makes this firm resolution, that if he needs to, he's prepared, that he's ready to rise to the challenge and give up his life to sanctify Hashem's name. That's not what the Zohar is talking about. Because the matzah we just described now, is that's not described as if he departed. That's not his state. On the contrary, his neshama is fully integrated in his seichel and so on, and all of his midas, and they've all surrendered that if need to be, he's ready to give up his life. I'm smiling. I think I told you this. Huh?
If he's saying it's not like Rabbi Akiva, Mosai, but it's rather like Avram Avinu.
I don't know. Maybe.
Al derech.
Maybe. Let's see what it says further. Vayidaber, he's describing now what it's not. When we speak about what are we describing? What's the matzav? Yes, the kisha and the shama about guf, but take of God. On the contrary, the neshama is very engaged in consciousness. It's the person has made a resolution that the mind, the heart, all the faculties of the body have surrendered to. Very intimate, not left them behind. It's not hystalic. It's a very strong engagement. So they're all ready. The guf is all ready for Mesiras Nefesh, but the situation doesn't demand it, so it's potential. So says the Rebbe Rashab, that's not what the Zohar is talking about here. I just smiled before because who was saying it, yeah, and Farkash, who was here in the summer, Barry Farkash, if I bring in an empty seat, it was the Sheva Brachas, one of my children, Shabbos. He's out helping the Hicks there in Issaquah. Issaquah, they pronounce it Issaquah, Seattle. So he's saying a soldier is trained and trained and trained and trained for this one moment that, boom, you're in the trench and he's training for years and years. It's all for this one moment where, fire, and expose yourself to fire. Get up there and this emes is on one level, shlichus is always, but on the other hand, it can happen many times in a person's life. It was all for this moment. He was saying, Wolf, the shlich in Odessa, the one that went back to Odessa, he said that they asked him why you're going back. He took out the orphanage and the people around, that there's still many people remain. He feels that his whole life of shlichus, everything he heard from the Rebbe was for this moment. This moment, in or out. He went back. So this could happen that aside from every day is the Yitzhar, every day is a struggle, but then there are certain times in a person's life where this is the Nisai. This is it. This is what you came down for. So that's not what he speaks about here in the Zohar. On the contrary, the Zohar talks about what the Zakoik, right? The true righteous, they're every day in the state of leaving the world. He is not leaving the world. The neshama is really engaged, ready, and engaged with what? The guf, nefesh, everybody's masking. It's such a strong conviction. That's what das is. It's a strong conviction that when it comes to it, we sacrifice. But it's bekoyach. So what is a moshel? The moshel is, he gives a moshel. The kilo is spatter. What's kilo is spatter? It's even more than Avram. Can be Yitzchak. Shenek the gab mizbeach, that he was bound on the mizbeach or parch on the shmosim mamish. He actually died. His neshama left. Not completely. So what happened? It says in Zohar, "Vaynisha begufei rakista de chayus." The remain kista means a small measure. A small measure, actually a container, literally, of life. Bilvad. Sheyuchol lachse nafshela, which allowed the neshama to return. When they will return it, there's a bit of the nefesh left that remains bound to the body. That's what we're talking about here in the Zohar. So Rebbe continues. So it could be in Avodah that a year divests himself of the chomer chai aguf inside atzmai with its soinai, the coarseness, the materiality of the physical life, and its desire, ad dispater mamash, a departure. Like the neshama ascended by tzadikim gedolim, kamei Hashem tevzal. When his neshama ascended, he was completely divested of the physical body. He was a state of faintedness. Elsewhere, I remember readings. Hashem Tov said it's about stuck in Kes Hashem Tov, that he said that every day was a miracle that after davening he was alive. It's Chias HaMeis. It's a nest that he did after davening. He was still here. This is the union of Yitzchak of Nek Dagabim Mizbeach. So the Zer, why is he ever saying this to us? The Zer in this part of my Alma, and that's what the Zer says about the Zakoik Shoit. This part of every day, then this part of my Alma Shanevesh Ativis Oile, not just the Neshama. The Nefesh Ativ is the portion of the physical life, Oile, not just the Neshama, but the life. The Shabbat is the natural Neshama. The and almost completely divorced from the body, divested. Like death, it's not actual death. His soul can be restored to him because it remains this small measure of life. And this is what the Zohar means, as if he passed away. This is all, where does this come from? This longing comes from Yechida, Shedvukim, Mamish, the Mahus Alikus. That Yechida, by its very nature, is bound up with the essence of godliness, and therefore, Kasha Yechida, Eila Lamaila, when Yechida sends, Yesh Bekoicha, Lahalis, Kol Chelke Devashativis, it has the ability to lift up every part of the person. It's also Lashon Desire. Only a trace of life remains. What's that trace? That trace is the Kista de Chayus, the small measure of life. It's gewaltige levels. So why are we talking about? It's not only shaykh, it's the people of distinction. Where we see the Rabbi Azok and maybe Alteba brings this inyan loy b'sefer HaTanya, which is Pnimis HaTorah, Davke b'shulchan Azov, for shulchan HaTorah, his golden shulchan, it's called the golden table, the pure table. Ilchas Tefillah. In Ilchas Tefillah, he says, that the early Chassidim and men have good deeds, he writes over this, talks about the hachana for davening. A person has to see himself, he's speaking to the King of Kings. How would he, if he's speaking to the King, how would he talk? Every word with awareness, every word would be properly enunciated and presented, much more so the Eibishter and so on. Then he adds that the early Chassidim, they would, in davening, reach a level of divesture of the Gashmias. He's bringing this in Shulchan Aruch. So means this is shaykh to each one according to their level. Every Jew says in Krishma, twice a day, and what's b'chol ma'itcha? That's the essence of the neshama, the yechida revealed. It elevates the whole nefesh, which is why b'chol ma'itcha also means your money. B'chol ma'itcha goes on the highest levels of Mesiras Nefesh. It also means your money. First of all, yeah, because that's the measure of Mesiras Nefesh. But the point is that Mesiras Nefesh, the Aliyah, engages every part of his being, down to his nefesh hativis, the meincha. As we learned in the Maimber, the next Maimber, to about him later, is the second parsha. Ba'ashuv is the shuv. To be continued based Hashem. So tomorrow, I don't think so. I'm going to New York tomorrow. I don't think I'll let you know. So keep a lookout. So it's a morning flight. I don't know if I can do this. We'll see. So keep a lookout tomorrow for this year or not.